Magnus Carlsen is one of the best chess players of all time. In fact, he's so good that from 2018 to 2020, he went undefeated for 125 games in a row, and he's also reached the highest rating of all time, peaking at 2882 ELO. But what happens when he faces a Polish chess grandmaster who is hell-bent on ending his undefeated streak? This is Jan Krzysztof Duda, currently ranked 20 in the world, and with a peak ELO of 2760, he was almost rated a full 100 less than Carlsen, but that didn't stop him from stepping up to challenge the seemingly unstoppable Magnus Carlsen in 2020. With both players' reputations on the line, the stakes have never been higher. This game has Carlsen playing with the black pieces and Duda playing with the white pieces. Duda opens with e4, and Magnus responds with c6, looking to play the Caro-Kann defense. Magnus Carlsen, known for his versatile and unpredictable style, plays a volatile line, bringing his knight out to f6, looking for an explosive game despite being on a huge undefeated streak. Funnily enough, the last time Carlsen played this move was in 2018, which also resulted in a loss. The opening progresses with both players developing their pieces, and Duda chooses to trade knights on f6. Magnus recaptures with his pawn. And if you're wondering why he chooses to capture with his e-pawn rather than something else, here's why. Castling kingside is normally seen as the safest choice, and by moving his pawn in the same direction, he fortifies his kingside position for when he does castle in the future, rather than capturing the other direction and leaving a gap in his defense. However, this also means that the white pieces now have a clear path to attack on the queen side, and also a dangerously easy passed pawn in the center, which you'll see soon. Both players continue to develop their pieces according to the theoretically correct main line. Carlsen castles his king and Duda brings his queen out to c2. And this is where the game really begins. Magnus checks Duda's king with rook to e8. Duda blocks with his knight, and Carlsen begins an attack with his kingside pawn on h5, which can open some weaknesses if whiteside also castles kingside. Duda develops his dark squared bishop onto e3, and Carlsen plays knight to d7. Also racing to try and get his pieces into the game. White castles queenside, which leaves the game in a very interesting position where the board is basically split in half down the middle, with black looking to attack on the right, and then white looking to attack on the left side. A couple more moves take place and Magnus moves his rook over to b8, threatening to open up a direct line to white's king. Duda responds with pawn to c4, defending his light-squared bishop and adding a bit more fortitude to the b-file. Magnus is no beginner though, and pressures with more aggression, moving his pawn to a6, kicking the white bishop and forcing it to retreat. Here, white has two main choices. He can either create an attack of his own in the center of the board, or he could move his dark-squared bishop back to preemptively defend against the ensuing attack from Carlsen. White plays knight to e4, looking to cement control of the center four squares, which are typically seen as the strongest on the board, and Magnus responds by developing further on his initial plan and moving rook to b7. Right here, Duda is in a precarious position. He can't allow Magnus to attack his weak b2 square. If he does, Magnus will come out with a significant piece advantage, and the game will be all but over. However, after a long think, he finds a great move, bringing his pawn forward to b3 and defending the file. Magnus, however, is not backing down. He continues his attack, bringing his rook forward. A couple of trades take place and now white's king is almost completely exposed. Ironically enough though, Carlsen has actually hindered his own progress by blocking his dark-squared bishop with his own pawn. Otherwise, he could use it to check white's king, and the game would have most likely come to a swift end. Magnus plays pawn to h4, and this is where most people agree that Carlsen lost the game for himself. While it's not a bad move necessarily, it's too slow and passive for the strategy he's going for, and costs a lot of tempo. A better move in this scenario would have been to bring his knight forward, as it offers a lot more attacking options and can even threaten the undeveloped white rook on h1. Duda offers up a great defense though, moving his pawn to h3 and preemptively blocking Carlsen's knight. This forces him to move it backwards and look for another route in. White moves a pawn to g4, kicking Carlsen's light-squared bishop and forcing it to retreat. And it's here that Duda plays another incredible move. King to d1. This gets the king closer to safety, away from the queen side, and also secures it from a check if Carlsen chooses to attack with his knight. Carlsen attacks with a pawn, looking to break open the center of the board, knowing he doesn't currently have a clear way to create pressure. Magnus brings his queen to f6, threatening to move it into the back rank, but it is once again blocked by a white piece. So in classic aggressive Carlsen fashion, he finds another route in with queen to g5. Duda shows no fear and responds with queen to e4, getting great center control of the board. The game continues with more pure aggression, and Magnus moves queen to g2, which is followed up with white rook to e1. For the first time this game, Magnus's position is starting to look a bit dangerous. White moves rook to e8, checking Carlsen. This forces Carlsen to retreat his king and lose a rook in the process. Magnus moves his queen to d5, looking to return a check to Duda. However, white blocks with a queen. Magnus makes one more last-ditch effort to return a check and complicate the game. However, the piece advantage is too much. Both players shake hands, and Magnus Carlsen's undefeated reign of dominance comes to an end.